Welcome back to another episode of the Career Diet Podcast. I'm your host, Anna Believa, a career coach, founder of the Career Diet, and a LinkedIn learning instructor. Today's episode is for you, my friend, if you're actively job search but thinking, all right, we are in November right now. Maybe I should pause and wait until January. The episode is also for you if you are someone who knows that you are ready for a dream opportunity, but you're not doing anything right now because, again, you're waiting until January. So, in this episode, we'll talk about why November and December are crucial 2 months if your goal is a big new opportunity in Q1. And we'll talk about very specific 5 action steps that I want you to take right now to set yourself up for success in Q1. Now, what most job seekers do is by the time they get into November, they start thinking, okay, the holidays are coming up, hiring is going to slow down. Potentially, by the way, it doesn't mean that it actually slows down, but there is that belief that hiring slows down. So, what most job seekers do is they stop. Come November, they stop and they just wait for pretty much 2 months until they get into probably mid-January, and only then they start picking up their efforts. Now, if you're listening to this podcast, you are a star candidate or you are working towards becoming a star candidate. So, a star candidate is someone who treats job search as a sport. Let me explain. Take any professional athlete. They're never always on. They have seasons. They have the off season, preseason, and then they're in season. So I want for you to think about job searching the same way. So when you're not job searching at all, so you're just focused on your current role or maybe other priorities in your life, you're off season. When you're actively job searching, you're in season. And the time before in season is pre-season. So November and December, as a job seeker, that is your pre-season, which means this is the time to prepare to strengthen your job search muscles to get ready for Q1. So in sports, what is preseason? That is the time when you're building your skills, when you're building your foundations, when you're getting clear on your goals, when you're preparing mentally and physically to perform at those peak levels. So come January, come Q1, I want for you to be at your peak level. So we're going to break down 5 very specific steps that you're going to take and 5 very specific things that you're going to be working on in November and December to be in your peak form by January so that you land your dream opportunity in Q1. And as you're listening to this episode and you're listening through those 5 steps, and if you're starting to think, all right, this sounds great, but I feel like I need some support. I feel like I'm not exactly sure how to do all of this efficiently and effectively on my own by January, how to get to that peak level performance by January. If you want to be smart with how and where you're going to spend your time now in November and December in preseason, and want to get to being in season where you're going to be spending your time, if you want to maximize your opportunities, if you want to maximize your earning potential in Q1 and land your dream 6-figure offer, I want for you to know that next week I'm opening a very special Black Friday enrollment for my job search program, The Star Candidate. That's where we work closely together, step by step, to prepare you for job search, to prepare you for being in season and making sure that you land your dream 6-figure opportunity in the fastest, most efficient, effective way possible. I've prepared 3 very special bonuses for you. The offer is coming out on Monday. Make sure you are on my email list. If you're not yet, or if you're not sure that you are on my email list, make sure that you subscribe. I'll link it in the show notes down below. Now, I know firsthand that with November, with Black Friday, with the holidays, you will be bombarded with different offers to buy shoes and clothes and bags and whatnot on sale. But I want for you to remember that a new pair of shoes is not going to change your life. That new pair of shoes is only going to give you happiness for the first 10 minutes when you receive the package. But investing in yourself is going to change your life. It's going to change your career. It's going to change your earning potential. It quite literally is life changing. So I actually stopped shopping on Black Friday a few years ago, and I've talked about this on the podcast before. I used to work in consumer goods. So Black Friday and this time of year were big, and my job was to get people to buy more stuff. But I changed, and this is just not something that I value, and stuff is not important to me. But investing in myself is the number one priority that I've had for the last 3 years, and my life quite literally changed. So watch out for an email on Monday, and let's dive into the 5 steps that I want for you to be taking in November and December to set yourself up for success in January. All right. Step number 1, you're going to be building your mindset, your confidence muscle. In sports, mental readiness is key. If you're following me on Instagram, you know that I'm big on tennis. And I don't know if you've ever watched a tennis match. When you're watching pros play, so much of it is what's going on in their head. Because the second you are getting a little bit behind or something is not going your way, it's so easy to just give into that energy and let your emotions control the game. It's always very interesting watching athletes go through those emotions, see how they're working through them, and then really pull back out of that hole. And I'm sure you've seen some tennis matches and other sports as well, where a player is very far behind, but they don't give up. And it's so easy to mentally do that. But they find a way to stay in the game, stay strong, and actually come back and win the match. So I was not surprised when I learned that every professional athlete actually has a coach that helps them to work on their mindset. So in preseason, in your job search preseason, I want for you to spend time and be very intentional about building your mental resilience muscle so that when you are in season in January, any sort of setback, and setbacks will happen because when you are going for the next level in your career or anything in life, setbacks are inevitable. So when you face any sort of adversity, you're not going to spiral, but you're going to continue working towards your goal. And when you have the deep confidence in you, you're going to be showing up differently in front of employers. I've talked about this before. You can say all the right things in a networking meeting, in an interview, but something is not clicking. And that something is the intangible feeling that you leave behind. And the intangible feeling is what comes with the nonverbal communication, which is very much affected by your confidence and how you actually feel in that moment. I can't stress this enough. If you want to go to the next level in your career, your mental toughness, your confidence have to be next level. And most job seekers only focus on the tangible steps. So they're updating their resume and their LinkedIn and they're applying for jobs. But if you want to go to the next level, you have to be next level. So how are you going to work on this? So I have an action step for you here. For the next 6 weeks, I want for you to be very mindful. Every single time you're thinking about job search, you're thinking about your next opportunity, you're scrolling on LinkedIn, I want for you to be very mindful of what thoughts and feelings are coming up. So let's say you're feeling a little bit of resistance when you start thinking about taking action. So I want for you to sit with that feeling of resistance and actually dig a little bit deeper and ask yourself, okay, why? What's the thought behind that resistance? It can be, what if it doesn't work out? What if it's going to take me 2 years to find this next opportunity? So, what are the thoughts that are coming up? And when you discover those thoughts, make sure that you're taking notes of all the unhelpful thoughts that you know, okay, well, this is definitely not benefiting me. This is definitely not making me feel more confident. So, what I want for you to do is be mindful and just write them down. And what I typically do, I just write them down in notes on my phone and I just set them aside. I don't really address them in the moment. I just notice that, well, that's an interesting thought, brain. Thank you for offering. I'm going to write this down and I'm going to go back to what I was doing. So I'm going to continue taking action and I'll get back to this thought later. And then I find time separately, and I want for you to do the same, where I sit down and I start looking at those thoughts and I start looking for proof that the opposite is true. So if the thought was, well, I don't know if I can do this, well, you need to pick an opposite thought. So this is going to work out easily. And then I want for you to look for proof that that's true. So it can look like, hey, you know what? I actually know some people who've done this and it was easy for them. Or it can be, you know what? I have made a bit of a career shift in the past. And you know what? It was pretty easy. So it will be different for every single one of you, but this is the first step and this is foundational. And I beg you to not skip it. All right, step number 2, I want for you to get crystal clear on your career goals. Back to the sports analogy, athletes, together with their coaches, spend preseason setting goals and developing strategies for this upcoming season. So, for example, I live in Toronto, Canada, and we have multiple teams here. And one of them is the Raptors, so the basketball team that went on to win the NBA championship in 2019. But here's an interesting part. And by the way, I'm not a big sports person altogether, but my life partner is, and we talk about sports with him all the time. And I remember some time ago, we were having a conversation about the Raptors, and I asked him, hey, how come we won the championship in 2019? And yes, we had an amazing team and everything came together for the team to go all out and set their eyes on the championship that year. But what's interesting is that every single team, every single year, every single season doesn't set their eyes on the overall end goal, which is the championship. Because again, things are different every single season, every single year. You have different players, you have different coaches. So every year, teams assess their goals. So they look at what players they have, what players they need to get, what players they can get. They work on their weaknesses. And in preseason, they plan on how they're going to do that. So when you're in season, so January is your in season, it's not when you start setting your goals, contrary to what most people do. January is when you are actually going after your goals. So you're going to be setting your goals right now. So I want for you to take November and December to define your dream role and the companies that you're going to be targeting in January. So here's the action step for you. I want for you to create a target list of roles and companies that align with your values and aspirations. And the more specific you get now, the more focused and really easier your efforts will be in January. And similarly, how the teams don't set their goal to win the championship every single season, I want for you to ask yourself a few questions here. What's important for me in my life in the next 3 years? So, are you focusing on your career for the next 3 years? Are you focusing on your financial growth? Because that will affect the kind of role that you will be after. Maybe you're starting a family. That again will affect the kind of role and lifestyle and balance you will be looking for. And once you define your goals, I want for you to ask yourself, what kind of role will support that, will support those goals? All right, let's move on to step number 3, and that is strengthening your brand. I can't stress this enough. Your brand, your personal brand, is the future of job search. With AI right now, you can be applying for hundreds of jobs every single day, which, by the way, I don't recommend that you do. So that means that every single company for every single role is getting more applications than ever before. With AI, now a lot of those applications start to look very similar. And this is, to be honest, only going to get worse, which is why just applying for jobs online is just not going to cut it. Which is why just having an empty LinkedIn profile and just banking, let's say, on, hey, I have big brand names on my profile, or maybe I went to this very well-known school and I got my MBA, that's just not going to cut it anymore. Similarly, a profile where you just have the company name and your title is also not going to cut it. There is simply too much competition and there is too much noise, to be honest, going on right now. So that means that you need to take your brand, your online personal brand to the next level. And that's what star candidates are doing right now. And I want for you to be doing that as well. So that means that it needs to be crystal clear to employers what you want to do next, not what you're doing right now. It needs to be crystal clear to them who you help, how you help. In the first 2 seconds of them finding you online, AKA them landing on your LinkedIn profile. And it's not just that. It's not just, hey, this is what I do. This is how I help. This is who I help. But it's also, I'm really freaking good at that. I'm that star candidate that you've been looking for. So that means that your LinkedIn profile needs to be full of results and achievements all throughout, in your about section, in your headline, in your experience section. Show me that you are a superstar. Your brand, in addition to being clear what you do, who you help, and what you want to do next, in addition to you showing that I'm really good at what I've done before, your entire profile also needs to be discoverable. So that means that it needs to be full of keywords. And you need to be using keywords everywhere on your banner. Again, headline, about section, experience section should be full of keywords that the right person, so a recruiter, a hiring manager, would be looking for. So when I say keywords, you want to start thinking about the industry that you want to be in, not that you're in right now. You want to start thinking function that you want to have, not the one that you have right now. Key skills and competencies that someone in that target role that you have identified for yourself would have. That should be all throughout your profile. And again, it should be crystal clear to me that you are that person who's ready for your dream job in 2 seconds. And doing this work and really building up your presence on LinkedIn is important because it also shows intent. It shows that, hey, this is important to me. My career, my future, my next step, my brand, all of that, Mr. or Mrs. Employer, is important to me. So when you invest in building up your personal brand in this era of AI, what's going to happen is, number one, you're going to be a lot more easily discoverable online. And when that employer at your target company lands on your profile, again, within 2 seconds, they know that you're the type of person that they've been looking for. And number two, it's going to accelerate your networking efforts and you building up and nurturing your network. Because now every time you interact on LinkedIn and your profile pops up for people and they go click on it, again, they're like, ooh, that's the star candidate that I've been looking for. Let me connect with them. So with that, I have 2 action items for you. Number one, you're going to update your LinkedIn profile. You're going to do it this week. And your goal is to make it crystal clear, as we said, that within 2 seconds of someone finding and landing on your LinkedIn profile, it's crystal clear to them where you're going next and that you are a star candidate and you are a superstar at what you've done before. An action step here, number 2, is I want for you to identify leaders in your field. So that specific target industry or function that you want to be in next. I want for you to follow them. So I want for you to find people who are professionals, who are active on LinkedIn, who are actively posting on LinkedIn. So let's say you're in sales, find sales professionals who actively post on LinkedIn. If you are in social media marketing, find people who talk about that on LinkedIn. So they work in that area and that's what they post about on LinkedIn. I want for you to find them. I want for you to follow them. And I want for you to start engaging with their content. Engaging means that you like it, you leave a meaningful comment, because what's going to happen is every time you leave a comment, everyone in your network will see that. So everyone who already knows you or people you've met by networking, people at your target companies will see that and they will know, oh, you know what? You know what you're talking about. You are that thought leader and you will be seen as someone more senior and more established. So we're updating your LinkedIn profile. We're finding thought leaders in your area. We're following them and we're interacting with their content. All right, step number 4, you're going to be building and warming up your network. I know, surprise, surprise. Anna is talking about building your network. Think about it this way. Professional athletes, the best athletes in the world, they have a team. They have teammates, they have coaches, they have a support network. So your professional network is just as essential. No one is doing this on their own. So I want for you to take the next 10 weeks and to start meeting people in your industry and actually building those connections and those relationships before you're asking for any referrals and next steps and anything that's, let's say, coming up. So let's say they have a new role posted in January. So I want for you to already know those people who are the decision makers for your target companies before January. And I know that a lot of people think, well, we're going into the holidays. How am I going to network? No one is going to do this. I want to offer you that this is the perfect time to network. The way I like to think about it is by the time we get to November, December, no one wants to work. And everyone is looking for an excuse to get out of the office, go get a coffee and pretend that they're working. So people love networking and going out for coffees and connecting in November, December for this specific reason. People want to be out of office this time of year. So give them an opportunity to do that. I also want to share a story of one of my students inside the Star Canada program. His name is Sam, and he actually got laid off November last year. And he told me that everyone was telling him, listen, holidays are coming up, just chill, and you'll start job searching in January. But he told me, listen, I know what a Star candidate would do. And he said, I'm actually going to focus on building my brand and reaching out to the right people. And by Christmas, while he was coming from the financial sector, doing marketing in the financial sector, which is why he was looking into Goldman Sachs, his end goal was actually to get into the retail space. And that's exactly what he did. So in January, as he told me, without applying for a single job, he got an offer from Luxottica, which is the top eyewear brand. He got an offer that paid 20% more than his previous job where he got laid off from. He got a 10K relocation bonus. He moved from California to New York City. They're supporting his visa because he needed a visa for the US. And he got into his target industry. So he is very, very happy with the outcome. But I'm telling you the story because this is what Star candidates do this time of year without you realizing. While you're kicking back and waiting for January, this is what the Star candidates do so that they start their new job in January. All right, so my action item for you here is to go on LinkedIn, make a list of people that you need to meet, meaning hiring managers and decision makers at your target companies. Make a list, reach out to them with the goal of meeting them and learning from them, and actually book meetings this November and December. All right, step number 5. I want for you to start practicing your in-game skills, so your interviewing skills, because athletes don't wait until game day to practice. They work on their skills regularly to stay sharp. So think about let's stick with tennis. Think about Nadal or Roger Federer. What do you think they're doing when they're not competing? I bet you they're playing tennis. They're working on drills. They're going back to the foundations. They're going back to the basics. So if Nadal is working on drills, you, my friend, should very much in your preseason be working on your interview skills. Because through networking, and I see this time and time again with my students, through networking, you will be landing interviews with ease. And then what are you going to do when you have an interview 2 days from now and you haven't interviewed in years? 2 days is not enough to prep. I tell this to my clients often that when I am job searching, you can wake me up in the middle of the night. You can ask me, tell me about a time you faced adversity, and I will be ready to go. I can't do that when I'm in off season because it's not necessarily top of mind. But when I am in preseason, when I'm in season, when I'm actively job searching, I'm ready to go and interview tomorrow. And once again, that's what Star candidates do. They don't wait for the interview to start prepping. They prep ahead of time. All right, here is the action item for you. Before you even have an interview, I want for you to start allocating time every single week when you are prepping for interviews. And if you're someone who struggles with interviews, it might look like every single day you dedicate 20, 30 minutes to interview prep. Here's what I want for you to do. I want for you to prepare your interview stories. I want for you to categorize them. And we, with my students, typically have 2 to 3 stories per category. So let's say teamwork is a category, leadership is a category. And then for every single one of those stories that you will be sharing as an example, I want for you to plan bullet points so that you're not writing out the whole story, but you know the bullet points that you need to cover. But here comes the part that most people don't do. I want for you to actually be practicing those stories. And the way I used to practice that, when again, I am in preseason, I would record myself on video, I would record voice notes, and then I would listen to it. I'm walking outside and walking to work in the morning, and I'm listening to my own stories, my own voice, so that they're ingrained in my head and I'm ready to go at any time. So record yourself, listen to yourself, and also practice with a real human. If you're not sure how to do all of that, how to find the right stories, how to organize them, how to break them down, how to tell those stories strategically, what kind of categories you need to have, I teach all of that inside Master the Interview. That's my interview prep course. We also dive deep into that inside the Start Canada program. So that's the A to Z job search coaching program. So we can work on that together or start building that out on your own right now so that you're ready to go for January. All right, my friend, that's it for this episode. I am so curious what you thought of this analogy and me comparing job searching and sports. If it resonated, shoot me a note on Instagram at The Career Diet or on LinkedIn at Anna Believa. I love hearing your feedback on the podcast episodes. There is a lot of time and work and me and energy that goes into the podcast. So I love hearing back from you. All right, good luck, and I will talk to you very soon.